Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Mysterious, and today we're going to talk about the lost but now found hiker Holly Courtier. But before we do that, I wanted to thank everyone who watched my last episode and subscribed to the channel. I got over 100 views, which I didn't think was possible, and it's really helping me stay motivated and to continue making these videos, so truly, thank you. So, as some of you know, I have a fascination with missing persons cases and national parks and true crime cases. And so when I heard about this case, it hit all of the boxes for me. So, and I was also interested in this case because historically, Zion National Park, which is in the southwestern part of Utah, is known for people going missing. Like, a lot of people go missing in that area that you don't necessarily hear about unless you have an interest in it, like me. So when I first heard about this case, I was like, ooh, this sounds interesting. But now I'm just skeptical about the whole story. So Holly Courtier she is a 38-year-old mother from Woodland Hills, California, and she recently lost her job because she was a nanny, and when COVID hit, her services weren't needed for the family that she was working for. So because of this, she decided she wanted to travel to all the different national parks throughout the state since her 19-year-old daughter was away at college. I can understand this. It's also on my bucket list to go to all the national parks, but anyway, Holly decided she was going to try this van life thing. So van life, if you've never heard of it, there's tons of YouTube videos on van life, and it's essentially when you take a van and you remodel the van to make it basically a mobile living space. It's a very nomadic minimalist lifestyle, and there's, like I said, tons of YouTube channels on quote-unquote van life. But anyway, moving on. So Holly was reportedly an experienced hiker and in good shape. And on October 6, 2020, she decided she was going to go to Utah and she was going to hike the Zion National Park. So she was able to get a private shuttle bus to take her to the Grotto Park area. And that bus was scheduled to pick her back up at 4 p.m. at the same place. But surprise, surprise, 4 p.m. rolled around and Holly never showed up. So it's unclear who notified authorities that Holly was missing, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But eventually, the Washington County Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team was called out to assist the park rangers of Zion National Park to look for Holly. So according to Officer Sergeant Darrell Cashin from the Washington County Sheriff's Office, he's the liaison officer for the department. They use canine officers and they use surveillance footage from different nearby businesses, and they had everybody out there to search for Holly, and they were reviewing tips of possible sightings. They had GPS tracks of every trail, and they really went above and beyond, and they searched the entire backcountry, including valleys, to look for Holly. And at one point, they even asked other hikers to volunteer their time to search for Holly. So like I said, they essentially went all out to find this chick. And so on October 18th, Zion National Park searchers received a tip from someone, I guess it was a hiker or somebody else who was out on trail, that they thought they saw Holly. So the searchers went out to this area, and it was only approximately a half a mile from where she was last seen in the Grotto parking lot. And they went there, and she was found. Okay, so this is going to get a little odd, but we're going to continue. So Sergeant Cashin claims that Holly was physically fine, and her condition didn't really warrant having an ambulance come to pick her up. And the sheriff's department and the National Park Rangers, a lot of them are EMTs, and with the sheriff's department specifically, a lot of them are advanced EMTs, meaning more than an EMT, but not as much as a paramedic, like kind of in between. We don't have these in New Jersey, but in other states they do. But they didn't think it was necessary for an ambulance to come pick up Holly, because she could walk, she could talk, she knew where she was, who she was, what the date was, who the president was, all of the essential questions that you would ask a patient, and she could answer everything, and she looked fine. So they called the family, and the family came and picked her up. Apparently the family took her to the hospital for an evaluation, and she was either discharged the same day or the next day. That's kind of up in the air as to when specifically. So I have issues with this case, and it starts with the family. So the family claims that Holly had fallen onto a tree and hit her head and then got a concussion from the tree. And they also said that she couldn't walk without falling over, and she couldn't really move her mouth, and she was super dehydrated and had bruises all over herself. And the park rangers and the sheriff's department had a totally different description of how Holly appeared when they found her. So that's something to consider. I wasn't the only person who noticed discrepancies with this case. Sergeant Cashin, the liaison officer from the sheriff's department, also noticed some major discrepancies with what the family said. So one of the big things is the location that Holly was found. Holly was found next to the Virgin River. And back in July of 2020, there was a notice posted by the National Park Rangers in Zion National Park telling people and hikers not to drink the water because the water, whatever, was tainted with cyanobacteria. Now, cyanobacteria is an algae that blooms in July when it's warm out, and it's very toxic to humans. So if you drink it, you could possibly die, or at least get really sick and then die. So if Holly was found next to the Virgin River and she had been drinking the water for 12 days, she would have been dead. And if she had been dehydrated for as long as 12 days, she would have died within the first 2 or 3 days, according to Cashin. So that doesn't really make any sense. Was she possibly getting water from a different water source? Or was the water being brought to her in some way? We don't know. The other thing that Cashin questioned was her location that she was found. She was only about a half a mile away from the Grotto parking area, and there's a lot of people that go to Zion National Park to go hiking, especially now with COVID and people want to get outside and go do things in the wilderness. Somebody would have easily spotted her in less than 12 days after she had gone missing. So where had she actually been? Where was she hiding? Where was she sleeping? Somebody would have seen her if she had been that close to the parking area. That, again, is very questionable. So something that I wondered, which I found interesting, is that she never told anyone where she was going. She didn't tell her family she was going on this hiking trip. So who called law enforcement to tell them that she was missing? Was it the family? If the family didn't know she was going, how would they know to call? And the other thing that was weird is that 2 weeks before Holly decided to go on this trip, her and her daughter had gone to Zion National Park to go hiking. Just 2 weeks before. I don't know, is that a coincidence? To me, it's like maybe she was scoping the place out. Possibly. But the thing that really gets me is that the family created a GoFundMe page after she was released from the hospital, stating that she had a lot of medical bills. And on the GoFundMe page, they were asking for $15,000. And by October 18th, they had about 10,000 of that 15,000. And I think right now they're above 15,000, maybe somewhere in the 17,000 range. But the thing is, if she had gone to the hospital because she was dehydrated and then was discharged, maybe she, got a line of fluids, that doesn't cost $15,000. Even if you don't have insurance, it's not going to cost you $15,000. I mean, it's possible she didn't have insurance since she wasn't working, but after one day or maybe the same day discharge, it's not going to cost you $15,000. Also, many states, I know New Jersey has it, I don't know about Utah, a lot of states have what's called charity care. So charity care is set up so that your medical bills will be paid even if you can't pay them because maybe you don't have insurance or there's a number of different situations. So if Utah has charity care, she could have used that to pay for any other outstanding medical bills if she didn't have insurance. So, but the family was saying that they created the GoFundMe page because of all these medical bills. Like, what is all these medical bills? You're only there for a day. You're not going to have $15,000 worth of debt from a one-night stay. So this case is ongoing, and more recently, Holly told the news that she wanted to get away, that she was mentally going through a hard, going through it mentally, she had some mental issues going on. So she decided this was her way of getting away. She wanted to be left alone. Okay, fine. But she also was fasting 2 days before she went out. So not only would she have been dehydrated from not drinking water for 12 days, but before she even left, she was fasting and didn't have anything to eat or drink with her for 2 days prior to this trip. And apparently, she didn't bring anything with her. If she's supposed to be an experienced hiker brings a day pack with them. And the day pack has food and supplies, maybe some water filtration, something like that. She brought nothing. It just doesn't make any sense. And according to Holly, she is now in a psych unit, and she's getting mental treatment for what? I don't know. But law enforcement is still not convinced. They still think there's some major discrepancies in the family's story. None of this adds up. Why did she go there in the first place? How did she end up in the condition she did, even though the family says she was in bad condition? And now they're asking for all this money. Something doesn't add up. So law enforcement is currently having an ongoing investigation to figure out what's actually going on with this case and what the truth actually is, because something's not right. A lot of people think that this is all a scam, and that they made this story up that she was missing in the wilderness and that she got hurt and she needed all of this money for medical bills in a way so that they could raise money. And I think personally, since her daughter is in college, wow, wouldn't it be great to have $15,000 to use towards your college education? That's just my theory, but a lot of people also feel the same way. There's actually a Facebook group, it's a private Facebook group that discusses the theories about this case and what they think actually happened. And according to the family, they had to delete all of their social media accounts and change their phone numbers because they've been harassed because people think it's a scam. I mean, if it is, that's pretty low. I mean, GoFundMe is used for people who actually need money, who actually have medical emergencies or accidents that have happened to them or their loved ones, and they're really in a pinch. And that's what it's supposed to be used for. Not to, for someone to lie about why they need money. I really hope that's not the case, because if that's the case, that's really sad. That's really disappointing that somebody would stoop down that low and do something like this. But again, as I said, it's an ongoing investigation. Hopefully in the future we'll know more information. It seems like every day there's more new information coming out about this case. So I plan on continuing to talk about this case as more information comes out, maybe in a future video. But yeah, I don't know. It's sad. The whole thing is sad if that's what they were trying to do, was make money. So what do you think about this case? Do you think the family's telling the truth about the medical expenses that Holly got because of going to the hospital and all these things? Or do you side with law enforcement and the people who actually found her in the wilderness? I'd like to know your opinion. Like I said, it's an ongoing case. There's going to be more about this that's going to come out. I don't know when. I have my theories. There's no truth to it because, we don't know yet. But yeah, I want to know what you think, because I think this case is very interesting. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing. If you have any suggestions, cases, or stories you would like me to cover, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And as always, stay safe.